This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Britain is set to enjoy a warm and sunny weekend, fresh off the hottest day of the year so far, with the Met Office forecasting that parts of the country will enjoy long spells of sunshine. Blimey. Long spells of sunshine?
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Tuesday saw temperatures in the UK hit highs of nearly 25 degrees centigrade, making it hotter than Los Angeles. Wherever that is. Many families were seen making the most of it by packing out Britain's beaches.
Warning, warning.
Don't go in the water. And don't go on the sand because, the brown foam has landed on the sand. And don't go near the coast because there's brown spume in the air and it's probably best to stay indoors. In a weekend update, the Met Office has stressed that for large parts of the UK, the upcoming weekend would see more dry and settled conditions. Can you believe it?
No.
Highs of 23 degrees centigrade are expected in the southeast tomorrow and on Sunday. 23 degrees centigrade. That is European surrender temperatures, which I will translate to His Majesty's Fahrenheit. Easy. Any fool could do it. To get from centigrade to Fahrenheit, you double it and add 32. So double 23 is 56, and 56 plus 32 is 98. Blimey, it's going to be 98 degrees Fahrenheit this weekend. Can you believe that?
No.
After tales of sizzling Brits soaking up the warmer weather, warmer than Lanzarote, and what a scorcher sunshine, depending on which paper you read, we may get a lot more of the same, or it might be all about to change to thunder, lightning, very, very frightening. Tonight, mostly dry. Mostly. But chilly. Saturday, early morning mist and low cloud will give... Early morning mist and low cloud will give clear... What? Early morning mist and low cloud will clear, yes, to give a dry day with long sunshine spells. I know that. It will feel warm again, which is the opposite of what normally happens. The sun normally is out early, and by the time you got out there, it's gone back in again. So not bad start for the summer. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Right, for the first half of June. It's June already. How did that happen? I expect it's got something to do with science. The first half of June, a continuation of the dry weather for much of this period, warm in western areas, cooler in the east with the risk of rain over parts of the southeast. Rain over the southeast? What? Not the northwest? I'll have to check on that while you wait. Your forecast is not available. Please try again. Why not? One moment, please. Isn't this exciting? Wait a minute. Glasgow. What? Okay. Are you ready? This is the forecast for Glasgow. Tonight, not raining. Tomorrow, sunny. Sunday, sunny. Monday, sunny. Tuesday, sunny. Wednesday, sunny. Thursday, sunny. Friday, sunny. Next Saturday, sunny. Sunday, sunny. Monday, sunny. Tuesday, sunny. Wednesday, sunny. And Thursday is sunny. You're going to get sun, no rain, every day for the next 2 weeks. You're actually going to dry out. You believe that? So, where was I? First half of June, a continuation of the dry weather for much of this period. Warm in western areas, cooler in the east, risk of rain over parts of the southeast, but not in the northwest. Absolutely. So not bad for the first half of June. And in the last 2 weeks of this month, dry, settled conditions in the north, maybe some showers in the south, winds easing and feeling rather warm. Winds easing and feeling rather warm? We'll take it. Ryan from Eggborough emails, "Hi Nick, I get that I'm supposed to be angry at people in boats who have the cheek to leave a war zone and benefit claimants who stubbornly refuse to be rich, and I'm supposed to be angry at workers who work from home, who turn up their noses at the luxury of an overcrowded train carriage. But why on earth am I supposed to be angry at Philip Schofield? Is he not allowed to have a relationship like the rest of us?"
No.
No, because he is a television personality. A morning television personality at that. Here are the headlines in the Mail Online at this moment. This is all on one day. Carefree Holly Willoughby relaxes with beer on the beach as Phil faces music back home. Star enjoys Algarve family holiday as she gets to return to this morning on Monday. That's very confusing. She's going to return to this morning on Monday.
What?
Yeah, I've no idea what that means. Can she return to this morning?
No.
No, on Monday. After Philip Schofield revealed she had ignored his text begging for forgiveness. For what? OK, that's one story. Another. I love Philip, but what he's done is wrong. Alison Hammond breaks down in tears on This Morning. After watching painful Schofield interview as she and Dermot are forced to address the difficult story again. That's two stories. 3. All I see is angry people shouting about a show they're not on anymore. Philip Schofield fires back at Dr. Ranj Singh and Eamon Holmes and reignites row with ex-colleagues over toxic narcissistic claims. 3 stories. 4. Something happened in my dressing room one day which I'll regret forever. Philip Schofield reveals how an affair began with 20-year-old This Morning runner as a kiss at ITV studios before 5 or 6 sexual trysts. Trysts!
Disgusting.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Holly Willoughby will return to This Morning on Monday. This is like Back to the Future. She's going to return to This Morning on Monday. Will it be Monday's morning or this morning? Host will be on air following Portugal holiday joined by Josie Gibson after Philip Schofield revealed how she ignored his text begging her for forgiveness. That's 5. 6. Crying Kerry Katona says she can relate to Philip Schofield's admission that his children saved him amid his scandal because she felt the same after her This Morning interview. Not this morning, but it might have been this morning. That's 6. 7. Massaging his vape like a stress ball, Schofield was diminished, hunched and vulnerable. Body language expert reveals. Oh. Right, that's 7. 8. Philip put his wedding ring on show but couldn't hide the pressure behind his fake bravado. Body language expert reveals how Schofield was disgusted by his own affair revelations in BBC interview.
I think it's disgusting. I really think it's disgusting. I think something should be done about it.
Definitely something should be done about it. So where am I now? That's 6, 7, 8, 9. Philip Schofield isn't the first to be left in the lurch by Holly Willoughby, as Dragon's Den star Peter Jones knows all too well. 10. Philip Schofield News Live. Latest updates after bombshell BBC interview with Amal Rajan over affair with young lover as former This Morning presenter admits his career is over. 11. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my daughters. Philip Schofield says his children have been at his side throughout the fallout from This Morning affair scat. Not this morning, but this morning. After he tells how he's lost everything. 10, 11. 12. Sanctimonious Philip Schofield disguised his narcissism behind a toothy white smile. 13. I'm not sleeping, there's a lot of southern comfort. As in...
Booze.
Philip Schofield says he's vaping so much his hands are blistered. What does that mean? What? 14. Everything you need to know about Philip Schofield's wife, Stephanie Lowe. 15. Philip Schofield compares reaction to his fling with much younger colleague to Leonardo DiCaprio's penchant for age gap romances as he divides viewers with interview. 15 stories on one day. Do you think they may be overdoing it a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, just a touch. Good grief. I still don't know what he's actually supposed to have done. I mean, the whole of the country has gone on to, like, DEFCON 1 over him, pointing their missiles at him, like I said in the warm-up, like he's Jeremy Blooming Corbyn. He's not espousing socialism, you know. No! I'm still slightly confused as to what it is that is supposed to have done. I mean, I don't really get it. Do you? I doubly don't get that I was talking about this last week, thinking that it was going to blow over in a day, and it's still 15 stories on the Mail Online today, 7 days later, or probably more than that. I think that this country has actually lost its mind. Either that, or there's a giant distraction engine been warmed up and is powering away, trying to keep our mind off the vaunting criminality of this regime, which is on the verge of banning all protests, all of them. Even if you think about protesting, you will be arrested. So that's the only explanation I can find. Either that or this entire country's lost its mind. If you put your ear up to this country, this is the noise that you will hear. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Let's have, let me see now. Chertsey. Hello, Tony.
Oh, hi there, Nick.
Tony.
Hi there, yeah?
Yes, Tony.
I'm here. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Hello?
Go on.
Hello?
Carry on.
Yeah. Got you. Are you sure that formula you were using for converting temperature is right?
Yes, I am sure. Thank you for asking.
How sure?
Very,
sure.
very sure. 110% sure. That's what a mathematician would say.
No, you wouldn't.
Is that it?
No, you can carry on
Another
if you wish.
satisfied customer.
No.
0345. Oh, sadly, we ran out of time on that call. Well, he shouldn't have left such a gap, should he? 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Jotty from Hanwell says, "Hi Nick, can you please help me understand why, despite seeing Bojo always jogging or cycling whenever I see him on Sky News and the BBC, he still looks like Billy Bunter?" Any thoughts, Bodge? Yeah, but the reason for that, Jotty, is that he never actually runs anywhere. I've seen him do this. He will get chauffeured right up to the door of a building, and then he will get out of his limousine and run the 3 feet into the building where the cameras are. And so the picture of him running is literally, you can see the amount of running that he's done by the pavement behind him in that picture. It'll be about 3 yards. That's all he does. That's the reason why he's he is Mr. Blobby. Because he pretends to run in that hideous get-up that he puts on, which it looks like. You remember at school, there was you must have been a kid like me that one day forgot their PE kit. And not to worry, because we've got a box of PE kit that's been hanging around from stuff that people have left behind. You can rummage around in that and come out wearing whatever you think is best, and it'll be usually things that are. Triple extra large brown shorts, not made for a 7-year-old. That's what it looks like. He's had to rummage around in the kit that other kids have left behind. He never runs anywhere. He's as honest about that as everything else in his life. Oh, and hands up anybody who believes that Boris Johnson is actually handing over all of his messages to the COVID inquiry. Hands up anybody believes that Boris Johnson is actually handing over all of his messages to the COVID inquiry. Now hands up who believes he isn't. Well, that's overwhelming. 0345 6060 973. Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Nick. How are you doing, pal?
Good.
Good. As your Welsh correspondent, I'm trying to keep you up to date on the Fosse of Fran. You remember the biggest hole you promised to look into for me?
The what?
The biggest hole in Europe.
Biggest hole in Europe?
Yeah, they're digging coal out of it.
Oh.
If they had millions of tons.
I
told you about this before.
Is that wise?
Well, apparently, you're not supposed to get coal anymore, but they are digging it out. It's a pretty big hole.
What's it called?
And Foss a Fran.
Spell?
F-O-S-S.
F-O-S-S.
Yeah. A dash. Y dash Fran. F-R-A-N.
Foss y Fran, but two F's.
No, you don't.
Hang on a minute. Two F's. Two F's is not said F though, is it?
Yeah, it's a f sound.
Please stop saying that.
Foss a Fran.
A Fran,
okay?
Right. Coal Action Network is campaigning to stop an application to extend the existing Fossafran open-cast coal mine in South Wales by 9 months and then a further 3 years. Oh, they're really going for it, aren't they?
They really are.
The UK's huge illegal coal operation, based on the most recently available statistics.
Yeah.
By the end of May, nearly 300,000 tonnes of coal that would have been mined without any attempt to stop it at a climate cost of almost 1 million tonnes of CO2 into the atmosphere.
Well, I didn't think you knew about this, Nick.
I'm reading it right now.
Well, Merthyr Council have sent, whoever it is, Alwyn, Idris, somebody up in their Fairport Fiesta, say, come on, boys, you got to stop digging this coal.
Yeah.
And they've turned round and said, yeah, okay, we will stop. And they just kept on going.
Of course.
There's a coal rush, not a gold rush. There's a coal rush, but they're not called the hole in the wall gang anymore with Sundance. They call the hole in the ground gang, and they've headed off with the till and all the money. And of course, they're not filling. I don't ask. I don't know how they're going to fill the hole in, because the company that said no has said we haven't got any money to fill the hole. Fill the hole.
Right. Well, we'll probably act in the same way that we do with the oil companies. When they've finished extracting as much money as they possibly can, we dismantle all their equipment for them. You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's the old story. It's the UK today, isn't it? I mean, nobody pays any attention.
It's supposed to be closed at the end of this month, though. That's what it says. Supposed to.
The Merthyr Council have taken out a legal injunction now, trying to stop them digging the coal out. And I don't think they're going to pay much attention.
I just can't believe it. I'm looking at a picture of it now. It looks like this. I know that Wales is often used as an indicator of the size of other things, so it might not be appropriate in this case. But it looks the size of Wales, that hole.
Well, at this present point in time, I'm directing people to the Banau Brycheiniog. You remember that place? Because they can't find it.
They can't find it, so they can't spell it. Can't look someone up if you can't spell it.
Well, they're missing it. They don't know where it is.
Try asking Alexa about that and see how far you get. I got to go. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Bad news. I can't believe that. I mean, that should be all over the news. Slightly more important than Philip Bloomin' Schofield, unless you happen to be Philip Bloomin' Schofield. Adrian in Derbyshire says, in recent times we've had loads to put up with Brexit. We've had the mad bat disease, a clown as Prime Minister. Well, which one?
Yeah. Wait.
That one or this one?
Absolutely.
Or this one?
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats. And I'm relentlessly focused on stopping the boats. That's one of my 5 priorities, stopping the boats. And I think people know that I'm working night and day to stop the boats. I firmly believe that that's what the country wants me to do. That's what the government is committed to doing, and we're working night and day to stop the boats. That's what the country wants us to focus on, and I will keep at it.
Yeah, he's gripping it.
I'm gripping it.
See? What an absolute shower. Alex says, it's unbelievable that the government is bringing legal proceedings against the COVID inquiry that they commissioned. Does the Well, I can't read that word. The Teflon bleep know that he's Prime Minister? I think he needs to stop wearing children's clothes, stop acting like a blooming robot and get a grip. Hey, get a grip, Sunak.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it already. He's gripping it as we speak. Britain's public COVID-19 inquiry, led by retired Judge Heather Hallett, is not the first independent commission in the world to begin examining a country's experience confronting the pandemic, reports The Guardian. It's just that ours is the only country in the world that is suing itself for asking it questions it doesn't like the answer to. I mean, if it wasn't so blooming serious, it'd be funny. All over the world, independent commissions are looking into how their government did. Their task is essentially the same, to assess preparedness, to make a record of decision-making, review government responses and learn lessons for the future. Ours should also have tacked on punishing those responsible and putting them in jail. Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Blah, blah, blah. In some countries, criminal proceedings are also underway. France's Court of Justice of the Republic, which investigates and judges ministers accused of criminal offences in office, received thousands of public complaints alleging government negligence. Besides the criminal investigation, at least 3 parliamentary inquiries have been held in France. A Senate report in December 2020 echoed the findings of 2 lower house inquiries, pinpointing multiple failings in pandemic preparedness and strategy. Here, we haven't even got out the blocks yet. They've had 3 inquiries. In Sweden, they've produced 2 interim reports and a final 1,700-page report in February of this year. We haven't even blooming started yet. Politicians in Italy face possible prosecution, with the former Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte and the former Health Minister and 17 others under investigation over the government's response to the pandemic. Here, nothing. In the US, a wide range of congressional committees with different mandates are investigating different aspects of the COVID crisis, but hearings have been marred by partisan arguments over where the virus came from and the effectiveness of distancing measures. I think it probably came from China. In Germany, a corruption investigation is underway into allegations that some conservative politicians earned large sums in commission on contracts for masks struck by governments during the first wave of the pandemic. Can you believe that, Bodge? And in this country, we've got a government-appointed commission looking into the government's action, and the government is using vast amounts of our money to stop that government-appointed commission looking into the government's actions.
Oh, fabulous.
I mean, could it possibly get any worse?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Just when you thought they couldn't do any worse than this, they somehow find a way. It's incredible, isn't it, Smug?
My view...
Oh, please. David in Teddington says, apparently they're going to rename the Houses of Parliament the Palace of Pestminster. How many current sitting MPs is it now that are under investigation for shenanigans?
Disgusting.
I think it's about 10% of them, isn't it? And those are only the ones that we know about. 60-odd. So let's assume that... If they say 60, then those are the ones that people have actually come forward to complain about, which is usually about 10% of the total. So, in fact, we're talking about almost all of them. Almost all of them. And yet this country is obsessed with Philip Bloomin' Schofield. I restate my case. I spent half of last weekend saying this and nobody came up with a good answer. What's that bloke actually done? I am mystified. Oh, people are talking about it. It's like it's the worst thing they've ever heard. And, serial killers get better press than this. David in, Houses of Pestminster. Done that one. I assume that's what you were referring to, David in Teddington. The shenanigans going on in SW1. Lots of it about. Tom says, I'd like to thank Fishy Sunak for making the weather very clear and transparent and making it his number one priority. He just wants me to play this.
It's the country's number one priority.
It's my number one priority, Mr. Speaker. It's just too painful. I can't stand it anymore. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Elaine in Clapham says, hey, Nick, they had Philip Schofield on 1 million times today. It drove me mad. says Elaine in Clapham. Yeah, thanks a lot, Philip Schofield. You're affecting Elaine's mental health now. Is there no one that is safe? Chingford, hello, John.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Nick. Yeah, no, sorry. I didn't expect to come on so soon, actually.
I'll put you on hold if you like.
No, it's fine. I mean, battery's running low, so I just had a bleep on that, so I'm a bit confused.
Yes.
Just a sobering thought. In less than 3 weeks, the nights start drawing in again?
No, don't say that.
Yeah, but actually it's closer to your review of the year, which is going to be gangbusters this year. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's closer to what?
Your review of the year.
Oh, right, the A to Z and the... Oh, okay.
Sorry, the A to Z of the year, yeah. I mean, it's going to be gangbusters
well,
with all
always
the
is.
stuff that's been going on.
Always is. It fries my mind, the stuff that's been going on already. I hope you people are taking notes.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so. Actually, something I can't... I saw something on Have I Got News for You Tonight, which I can't erase from my mind. Yeah. It's Bodger's Builder's Bottom.
Oh.
And he was getting on a plane, and I can't get it out of my mind now, which I'd never watched the show.
They're going to have to burn that whole plane. He actually touched that plane seat with his bare bottom. Can you believe that?
Oh, dear, no. But why I phoned up devout Christian Anne Widdecombe, her idea her idea to clear the protesters is to turn water cannons on them.
Yeah, because
some of these people are sort of like in their 80s.
Yeah, that's what Jesus would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, get out the Waffen squirter. That's exactly what it said in the Bible.
Yeah, dreadful. Very interesting interview with John Cleese. He was talking about the way the press were. I mean, when he started off like late 60s, early 70s, he thought the press were really ethical. And, but now they've turned into a sort of unchained beast.
Ethical? What's he talking about?
No, I mean, they were ethical, I think, back in the early 70s.
What are you talking about? Ethical?
Well, I think I'm going back, 40 or 50 years, aren't I? He's talking about between then and now. Because now they're like an unchained beast. I mean, if they
always were. Did you read The Sun in the 1970s or the 80s?
It wasn't around, was it? It was a broadsheet then, wasn't it?
The Sun
before Murdoch took over
in the 70s.
I mean, it was. He's talking about the late 60s, very early 70s. But anyway, I mean, that's John Cleese. I mean, The Sun was a broadsheet then. And it was actually, it had news in it before Murdoch.
In the 1970s, The Sun was not a broadsheet. I'm going to have to look that up. I seriously doubt that is actually true.
No, I remember it wasn't. Anyway, but I mean, the point he was trying to make is now, I mean, they go for somebody like Schofield, and they're like a beast that won't let go. I mean, also, he was disgusted by the way they treated Meghan Markle. Obviously, it didn't mention Corbyn, but we brought that up on this show. It's just they want to go for somebody and they just won't let go,
Well, they won't let go because they can't think of anything else to write about at the moment because, Meghan Markle doesn't live near no more and it costs a lot to keep sending journalists over there to see her shopping or whatever it is that she does at the moment. I've got absolutely no idea. So, these things go in cycles. It's like devil dog stories. People get bit by dogs every single day, but a terrible one will happen, a really, really bad story will happen, and then they will suddenly find all of these stories interesting, but for about 1 week, and that's it, and then they move along. It doesn't mean to say that people have stopped being bitten by dogs. They have, but just the press got bored of it. Someone else came along. And Meghan Markle has been the gift that keeps on giving. And now Philip Schofield is as a position holder between Meghan Markle stories, I betcha. Betcha. Anyway, thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Josie texts, I don't see why Philip Schofield hasn't got his job anymore. Over just some lies. We have a person on the throne who had an affair with Camilla, and he didn't run around telling all and sundry the truth or what he was up to. He kept his job. Josie, it's worse than that. He got promoted. Wish this story would blow over now, says Josie. I do feel like part of me thinks that the press just wants to keep ramping this story up so that something dramatic happens and that they can report that now. Like he will decide to take a few more pills than he should. That kind of thing. They're just itching for something more to happen, aren't they? I'm completely mystified by this story. I don't get it. The coverage doesn't seem to reflect what the story is about. Does it? I mean, it's just, I don't get it. And everybody seems to be on the same page with this. Oh, yes, it's absolutely disgraceful. He lied. Well, of course he blooming well lied. It was an affair. That's the it of it, isn't it? You don't have an affair with somebody who is not your significant married other and go around telling everybody because, that's not having an affair. That's having an open marriage. So, of course, he didn't tell the truth about it. And what's he got to do with the people he works with? I just don't get it. I really genuinely don't. I've tried to get it, and I don't. But 15 stories in one day. I mean, even Meghan Markle couldn't manage that, could she? I mean, they would be all exhausted after about 6 stories. Here's the blessed Kate out of Wills and Whatsit. Isn't she fantastic? She's managed to wear a dress. Look at her perfection. I think there was one story in the Mail today that was exactly that. She was off at some marriage, like some wedding somewhere. I've got no idea. I'm not remotely interested. But she stood there in what looked like a solid gold dress with a hat made of diamonds. To show her empathy with us poor dopes who pay taxes. And they're just dribbling on about, oh, look at her magnificence. She has perfected the art of wearing clothes. Stunning. And meanwhile, Meghan is still the Wicked Witch of the West. No! She actually looked like she was concerned for somebody's welfare the other day. The heartless witch. Full details on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 and a full colour pull-out section inside on the subject of why we are no longer interested in Meghan Markle. everything except the sports pages. This country's lost its mind. 0345 6060 973. Daniel Gillingham.
Oh, hi, Nick. I'm sorry to bring you back to it, but I was just going to go back into the Philip Schofield
no.
thing. And I think there's something a bit extra to it, really. As I was saying to the researcher that I spoke to, I don't think we would be, or the press, or the right-wing press, would be constantly hammering on about it if it was a woman. I'm not being funny, but I think there's an element of homophobia here.
There's nothing funny about what you just said, Daniel. I think you're completely correct in every respect.
Yeah, and the other thing is I've got to be honest, I've been in a relationship with an older person than myself and at a legal age, and that is totally fine as well. But they're trying to make, like, if you're older and you go with a younger person, that's some kind of sour, like, oh, that's not good either. But and also there is an element, I just got to add this as well, it's quite convenient for the Tories that this story is constantly going on.
Is it ever? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Tories are coincidentally propped up by the very people who are having their newspapers write this tripe day after day after day after day.
Yeah, that was nothing more than that, Nick. I just wanted to put that to it because it's like I think there's a slight slant to this. I think it would be completely different if factors were different as well. I really do think it would be slightly different, and it would be a non-story if it was a man with a woman. I really do.
It is a non-story. What the hell are they keep writing about? I don't get it. 15 separate stories on the Mail Online about this today. This country needs a check-up from the neck up. Thanks a lot, Daniel. 0345 6060 973. Anonymous text says Philip Schofield has not committed a crime. The media are just on a witch hunt. They're not satisfied until they have completely ruined him. There are more important things happening the media should be focusing on. Yeah, exactly. Like our imminent demise at the hands of AI.
Affirmative.
We're all about to get killed by a robot. Did you read about this? Good grief. Have I got time before the break? No, not quite. Remind me, because what's just happened is absolutely astonishing. And it got virtually no press whatsoever. Like a little, they managed to squeeze it in between stories about, how upset Philip Schofield is and how upset the people that are also on that show are that he didn't tell them that he was having an affair. Like it's got anything to do with them. Like you'd go to work and share it with your colleagues. I don't get it. Do you? Ash says, it's getting very silly. I feel sad because I'm seeing Schofield tear himself up when it's really none of my business. I don't understand why ITV had to know about any relationship. I understand the issues with his family, but it's really none of my business. I don't care. I just hope he feels better soon and stops stabbing himself mentally in front of a nation. I think he's confusing his own private stuff and thinking he owes the public an apology for that, but he really doesn't. On the upside, maybe the government will topple once they get these once they got these WhatsApp messages. Yeah, unfortunately, all those messages that would actually shed light onto who did what and who made a ton of money, yeah, they've accidentally been flushed down the toilet. All of those phones, that had all those messages on, yeah, they dropped them down the toilet, on one of those famous number 10 business meetings. Up all night business meetings, one of those things, yeah, flushed them down the toilet. Sorry about that, they're unrecoverable. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. And why, by the way? They're saying, oh, well, it'd be very, very embarrassing if we had to give this Harriet, what's her name? I can't remember off the top of my head. I've got it written down, don't you worry about that. This the person conducting the COVID inquiry, we can't give her our phones because of all that personal information that's on our phones that we were conducting government business on. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but why are they not supposed to be keeping phones that they use for their personal business separate from the ones that they use for their government business? Why are they doing a lot of personal business on their government phones? Aren't they supposed to keep those separate? Any thoughts, Bodge? No. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. News just coming in from next door. Heather Carol Hallett, brackets, COVID lady. She's the COVID lady? It's her fault. Yeah, thanks a lot, Heather. You see what you've done?
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Okie dokie.
0345 6060 973. This anonymous email says, right, Nick, let's get one thing straight. We, the people, voted for Boris because he was only viable alternative to communist Colonel Corbyn, the man who was going to pay for everyone's Wi-Fi and bankrupt the country. There's no punctuation in any of this. I can't read the whole thing in one breath. Boris has a proving record. What does Corbyn have apart from a criminal record and history of lying? But you won't see that on the MSM. Only a witch hunt again. Boris and co. Nick, we voted leave if you don't like it. Wow. Well, I don't know what your name is because you didn't put it on there. But whoever you are, you're an idiot. I suspect that was just, it's somebody's idea of a joke because there's virtually no word in that entire thing that's spelt correctly. So I assume that you're trying to be amusing. Amusing, no?
No.
Paul says the messages from his new phone, Paul texts, the messages from his new phone, his old phone, that makes no sense. Just read what you've written before you hit send. Hatfield, Douglas.
Hello, Nick. I don't normally listen to you until about 10:30 after I've listened to the BBC News. I know. I have been, I'm nearly 70 years old.
70 years old.
And I've been a defender of the BBC for all my life.
But
today, at the top of their story list is Philip Schofield.
Oh, my God.
on a day when number 2, India train crash, number 3, 19-year-old terrorist, number 4, Bojo's stuff, number 5, rail chaos, number 6, attacks on Ukrainian cities. Now, why is Philip Schofield number 1? Because Amal Arjun, superstar BBC interviewer, has conducted an interview, and it concerns the ITV.
Yes.
It concerns a scandal, a sordid little scandal.
I think
in
it's
a competitor.
It's called co-promotion in the business, isn't it? Something like that, or cross promotion. That's what it is. Cross promotion.
Content creation about themselves and then their competitors. From now on, Nick, I'm going to switch you on at 10 o'clock on Friday rather than listen to the BBC.
Excellent.
That's
Another satisfied customer. Thanks a lot, Douglas. 0345 6060 973. Kath in Wales says, this morning, James O'Brien pointed out that Bojo has said that he wants to hand over all relevant messages to the COVID inquiry. So, as usual, he's marking his own homework. Shall I do that poll again? Hands up who thinks that Boris Johnson is actually going to freely give up all messages that pertain to COVID. Now hands up who believe that he isn't. It's still overwhelming. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hiya, Nick. Thanks for my call.
Ranjit.
Yeah. Right, Boris Johnson, yeah. You touched on it a little bit, when you was at school.
Please, I did nothing of the sort.
Disgusting.
Even Carrie doesn't want to do that.
Well, Rishi Sunak might be gripping it with both hands.
I'm gripping it. Yeah, he is, yeah.
With both hands, right?
Let's not get carried away,
right?
Ranjit.
Okay. When you said if you forgot your kit at school, you have to use the or somebody else. He's always got the same blooming shorts on, the blue ones, yeah, with the white trim on there, and they're stuck up his bum. Right, if you have a look, they're hanging a bit further down towards his
Okay,
knees.
I really don't want to look in that general area.
Yeah, and he's always got the same shorts on, basically, right? So he's just...
Well, they never get dirty because he never actually jogs anywhere. He gets a car to a building, gets out of the car, jogs the 3 feet up to the front door where the cameras are waiting, and that's what you see as the picture. He doesn't jog anyway. He lies about that, just like everything else in his life.
Well, and then, when he says, I'm handing over the relevant text messages, there's his get out of jail card, because anything he doesn't hand over, he'll say, well, I didn't think they were relevant.
Yeah, I had it in my shorts, and all that vigorous running, they must have popped out. They'll be in a hedge somewhere.
That's the other. And the other thing, this Philip Schofield story, yes, it is a total distraction about everything else that's going on, right? I mean, on the news now, you don't hear hardly anything about what's happening in Ukraine or whatever. Yeah. Before, they had a few months with the years with the COVID and that, so they just keep on distracting. And the other thing I want to know is, you always say he should be helping the people in Uxbridge. I mean, what capacity is he representing this country, going to America?
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. The people aren't actually asking for our money back. The money from the little people.
The little people.
Us poor dopes who pay taxes are paying that man's salary for a job that he is plainly not doing.
So why isn't Sunak saying to him, oi, mate, you work under me, yeah? You are supposed to be representing the people in Uxbridge, and what the hell are you gallivanting around in America? If you want to go to America, go when you're on your holidays. And that's simple. But then again, he'll get somebody to pay for his holidays.
Pay for his holidays, He never pays for anything at all, and burns through money like he's setting fire to it. It's just incredible, that man.
And, like now and this morning, I was listening to the Australian deal, right? And then one of the news, the TV said, where's Britain and what are they? What do they make? Oh, they make those MG cars. And, O'Brien played that this morning, yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah, by the way, MG's owned by China. What does actually Britain own? And
we are being what you're talking about is the newsreel from an Australian TV news station, and they are actually laughing at this country. We are a laughing stock. But even Australia, I'm sorry, Sorry, Australians, but that's embarrassing. Australia is laughing at us?
And, you know, like the gentleman that called in, he says he watches the BBC News. Yes, the BBC have got an axe to grind with the ITV because they're competitors, yeah? So they're actually using, you know, Philip Schofield as, I don't know, ammunition against each other. It's not fair on him because, okay, whatever he did in his private life. Nobody's asked what Boris Johnson done. When people say to him, how many children have you got? He goes, and if you get them in order...
if he gets them in order, then he gets extra points.
Extra points?
Extra points.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Extra points for getting it in order. That's absolutely correct. Completely correct in every respect, Ranjit. Thanks for that. Gotta go. 0345 6060 973. No, I don't wish to look at Boris Johnson in the shorts area.
Disgusting.
I mean, I can't believe that anybody was. But Ranjit seems to have a vivid mental image. This says, there's nothing more symbolic of gaslighting than a disgraced, freeloading and obese former PM going for a jog. Yeah, but he doesn't go for a jog. He doesn't go anywhere. Look it up on the World Wide Web. There's actually videos of him being driven up to a building. He gets out of the car in his jogging gear and breaks into a jog that lasts, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's about 3 yards. That is 3 meters for those who prefer European surrender measurements. It's about 3 yards from the car to the building that he's just been driven to. I mean, he can't tell the truth about jogging, for crying out loud. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Julian says, you're obsessed with Boris, you're a genius and and are better than this. Sort it out, dude. This is not what I expect from a Van Halen fan.
Rock and roll!
I have no idea what Van Halen's got to do with any of this, but if they're upset, I'm upset.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Words, more words.
Graham texts, love 'em or loathe them, you have to feel sympathy for Fishy being in between boys' and men's size trousers. Ankle swingers above surprisingly long shoes is a look not often seen outside of a circus. You look like a clown, Fishy.
It's the country's #1 priority.
It's the country's #1 priority to have their leader look like a clown that got shrunk in the wash. Tony from Sevenoaks says, I'm pretty certain that if I'd done half of what Boris and the Tories have done, I'd been in prison a long time ago. Correct Amundo. Which is why they are all keen to give up all of their WhatsApp messages and their, various ways of conducting government business so that they can be proven innocent of all charges. No, apparently not. Fighting tooth and nail to keep all that stuff secret. From an inquiry they started themselves. The government is spending our money protecting itself from an inquiry that the government set up itself. Yeah, that sounds like Britain now. If I told you that was what Britain was going to be like even, let's say, 13 years ago, you'd have thought me an Egypt. But that's where we are now. In the interests of openness and integrity, that's where we are now. Fighting tooth and nail, using our money to keep secret from us what they've done to us. And people are saying, we must find out all of the information so that this never happens again. It will happen again the very next time that a pandemic comes around. The next mad bat disease, it will happen again. Of course it will, all of it. Because people will think, well, now, last time this happened, then a lot of people who had no business even putting in a request, let alone had experience of medical equipment. They were broke one day and multimillionaires the next. It'll all happen again, all of it. Isabel, Isha.
Hello, Nick. How
Isabel.
nice to speak to you.
Hello, Isabel.
I thought I'd just tell you about a rather surprising, or perhaps not so surprising, situation that's arisen this week.
Yes.
I'm going to have major surgery on Tuesday.
Oh, dear.
Possibly. It has been cancelled 4 times before.
Why?
So I've waited about 20 months.
20?
And yes, 20 months. I think because I involves 2 teams of surgeons. Anyway, before each surgery, I have a pre-op assessment, which involves quite a lot of tests, 10 days or a week before the surgery.
Right.
Now, considering the surgery is happening on Tuesday, I'm still waiting to hear. But last Friday, I got a call to say, I'm phoning it about the pre-op assessment. Great, I thought. She said, it's the vet. It's about the dog's teeth removal.
The vet. Right.
I said, oh, yes. She says, just checking she's had the right medication and she'll be nil by mouth and you'll bring her in Tuesday. Yes.
Yeah.
Took her in on Tuesday. Brought her home at 4 o'clock. Slightly stoned, the dog was.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was still under general anaesthetic.
Yeah.
And today took her for her post-operative check.
Right.
And obviously, you know what you think I'm going to do.
What are you going to do? You're going to go see the vet.
Exactly.
So how long did the dog have to wait before it got that kind of treatment?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, and you've been waiting 20 months?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
If you had fleas and were going to get fixed, they'd have seen you straight away.
Absolutely.
So are you going to get this surgery done?
I do not know.
You don't know. God.
We did text my surgeon, one of my surgeons, and he said, yes, the post-operative team will be in touch.
Yeah.
Let's keep our fingers crossed it'll happen on Tuesday.
And he's the person that's going to be doing it. And he's crossing his fingers. That's not a good sign.
Oh, he says he's very depressed and the NHS is in a terrible mess.
Yeah.
And I was moved to this hospital because he's such a specialist.
You know, if you were paying cash money, Isabel, then the doctor would have been in and would have seen you straight away.
No.
As in immediately.
They cannot do this operation under private healthcare because we have asked them twice.
Oh, really?
And because I need an intensive care bed after the surgery,
Right.
they won't do it. It's too risky.
Well, you can get, I mean, you've probably investigated all of this. No, you can get private treatment done in an NHS hospital so that they have all of the A&E facilities if something doesn't go right.
Yeah, I wonder why they haven't suggested that. They've come up with very obscure reasons why I can't have the surgery.
Yeah.
Once, the plastic surgeon, who's the second team of surgeons, was on compassionate leave. The next time, she was taking a sabbatical. On the third time, I dislodged my intravenous line by sawing a branch off a tree. so my surgeon blamed me.
Huh. Right, well, it's just awful. We're in a place now where we pay a massive amount of money for our own health insurance, the national insurance, and the tax that we pay. The NHS isn't free. We've paid for it already, and it's so unreliable that people are now being forced to pay again a massive amount for a private treatment for something that they've already paid for on the NHS.
I know. And then a surgeon tells you the NHS is in a terrible mess.
Yeah.
And he's depressed.
Right.
That doesn't sound that great. But hey-ho.
No, it really doesn't. No, after 13 years of safe in their hands.
Oh, yes. I have a lot to say to...
Right. Well, I wish you all the best, Isabel, and I hope that it goes well and that in fact that it does actually happen.
Thank you very much. And
All
the
right.
dog, you're doing great.
Thanks a lot, Isabel. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, you can get private medical treatment done in an NHS hospital where they do have, all the relevant accident and emergency and, beds of great concentration or whatever they're called. What are they called? She actually used that phrase just now. Where they concentrate really hard on you and they wire you up to all sorts of machines that go bing like that. Just because you're getting treated privately doesn't mean to say you have to get treated in a private hospital. In fact, you probably don't want to get treated for something major in a private hospital because they won't have all of the extra beds of great concentration. What are they called? What is it I'm trying to think of?
An MRI?
No, not an MRI. You failed this test. No, it's, where they concentrate really hard on you. And they look at you, like, a lot. In the beds with the looking and the concentrating. All of these are technical terms. Don't worry if you can't follow this. Only a trained medical professional will understand what I am saying. Ada in Victoria says, a UK winner just won £111.7 million from Euro Millions. Was that you? £111.7 million? Did they? Do you have to buy a ticket to win that game? Really? Damn it! What if I was sure that those were the numbers that I was going to pick? Is there any dispensation for that? £111.7 million from the Euro Millions. Was that you? No, Ada, it wasn't. Only 1 million is enough for me, says Ada. Don't forget to pass it on. You can leave it in a box at the door just outside Global. Yeah, it's a no from me, Ada. And furthermore, no. No, I ain't got no £111.7 million. But I would know what to do with it if I did. I would donate it to the Conservative Party. And the return on that would be through the roof. It's the best investment that money can buy. Oh, hang on. Wow, that coffee just backed up on me.
Disgusting.
Sorry about that. Well, I saved you most of it. The wettest part. Erith. Hello, Steve.
You're
Steve?
good,
Yes,
right?
Steve. Yes, Steve.
Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to lighten. Anyway, rock and roll story for you.
A rock and roll story?
I didn't throw my telly out the window. I don't know if you remember. I said about, out the ground floor window. Not very rock and roll. But I saw a Who documentary.
Who?
Yeah, the Who. And Keith Moon put a bomb in the drum kit that the rest of the band didn't know about.
A bomb?
And you know where they used to smash up their instruments and really shock the ornaments and all that?
All the ornaments, mm-hmm.
Sorry, I meant audience. But yeah, it backfired because he didn't tell Roger Daltrey or that other, and there was footage of it, and it was quite funny. And I just wanted to say it rather than hear about Philip Schofield and the like. That was
Okay, sounds like you have, but it's not something that's going to be occupying us for very long, Steve, because because of all that whole Philip Schofield issue. Got to get to the bottom of that. Thanks a lot, mate. Paul says it will be. It could bother it. Paul texts, it could be the will of the people that the government is withholding the messages. They just haven't got around to telling us what our will is yet. It's our number one priority.
It's the country's number one priority.
Rose in Devon says, I think distraction is the only explanation. It's the only explanation she can find. With the government trying to supersede the COVID judge, Johnson's devious response, and now the government superseding Parliament to ban protests totally, I believe that in advance of these events, the vacuous Schofield non-story was seized upon to keep the public suitably blinded to all else. What's amazing to me is that the public appears to be interested, because I don't believe that if they had 15 stories up on the Mail Online website and they weren't getting any clicks, then they would keep writing them. I just don't think that that's true. I keep saying this over and over again. I am nothing if not repetitive. If you stop reading those stories, they will stop writing them on whatever subject it is that is irking you so, like endless stories about David Beckham's kids. If you stop clicking on them, they will stop writing them. I guarantee that is true. 0345 6060 973. Rue emails, as I live in Berlin, my parents occasionally ship me a bottle of Heinz sandwich spread. Since Brexit, this has become increasingly complex. Any tips on how we might minimise the cost? I don't know, but my interest was piqued when you said Heinz sandwich spread, which is a thing that I used to like as a child. And just recently, somebody sent me some of it. Now, of course, it was a sealed package. I'm not insane. And I tried it, and it just sent me straight back. And you know what Heinz sandwich spread improves? Everything. I must go out and buy me a couple of buckets of it. I don't know. I think they probably put drugs in it. Something like that. It's probably full of crack. But it certainly is addictive. I'm on about like 3 or 4 sandwiches a day now, man. But I can handle it. I'm just feeling a bit bloated at the moment, that's all.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Mary in South Norwood texts the following. She says, I'm being conned, but like you, I don't understand what he has done wrong, and I believe the press coverage is about homophobics. She also wrote, unverstand, not understand, but I glossed over that. I believe the press coverage is about homophobics being presented with some of the reality of being homosexual and feeling they have some kind of license to be shocked and horrified. Anybody following this so far?
No.
The saddest thing for me, F-I-R, for me, is that Philip Schofield is forced to express guilt and regret. If he's telling the truth about what he, Abbot, what he did, about what he did and when, he shouldn't. And all his fears around coming out at all have been totally justified. Of course, I have enormous sympathy with his wife, but that's another matter. I sometimes truly hate and despise our press, says Mary in South Norwood. It's very, very emotional. Hey, Mary.
Calm down.
Anonymous texts, I treated myself to a cheese sandwich today and thought about what Anne Widdecombe had said. I just stood on a bus journey for well over an hour because this government hasn't resolved the train strikes despite their integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Yeah, he is lying about that. Johnny texts, is the reason the media barons aren't covering the WhatsApp messages and instead are obsessing with Schofield actually because they themselves are part of those WhatsApp groups? Well, there's something that's highly suspicious gone on, don't you think? I mean, it could be that. It could be, the various shenanigans that have gone on with disappearing billions of pounds of money that the little people paid in taxes.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. And I bet some of them are asking their favourite dealer if, he's got some stuff.
Want to score some pot?
I wouldn't be remotely surprised if there was quite a lot of that going on. There's something they don't want us to see, and I imagine it's all of it. Freaking out they are. I've decided to think of them as guilty to save time later. Lisa in the Wirral says, I'm a bit scared for Schofield. Glad his daughters are supporting him. Anyhow, the real reason he's top of the gossips is due to the Tory press. They are delighted. P.S. I love Sparkles. Are you talking about Sparkles out of Hazard and Sparkles? Yeah, we haven't heard from, not from necessarily, but we haven't heard about her in what seems like absolutely bloomin' ages. As soon as this Philip Schofield thing blows over, then no doubt they'll be back to calling her the Wicked Witch of the West and describing in great detail how awful she is. Dreadful person. Brighton. Hello, Ben.
Oh, hi, Nick. My idea about this, the WhatsApp messages and things, and the government's reaction to it, has been that Johnson strikes me as being the kind of guy that is so venal, so mercenary, such a kind of completely destructive human being,
yes,
that he would actually be willing to put out stuff that could damage him if it were to actually damage the government and indeed the client media. In other words, if he can't have it, no one can have it, and just blow the whole lot up.
Yes.
And I think there might be something in that. And I think that might also explain why the government is now opposed to having information they initially sought. In fact, I think they're suing to prevent the information coming out that they initially asked for.
Yes, using our money.
Which is using our money, using our money to sue themselves for stopping themselves from looking at things that they told us we should look at.
Makes as much sense as anything else as I've heard this year, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I do think that Johnson is the kind of guy that would really think that it's actually worth destroying. Because if you think about it, this guy's already destroyed my country. He's destroyed Cameron's career. He's destroyed May's career. He's destroyed his own career. He probably put Truss there just so she could self-destruct. That's 4 prime ministers he's destroyed. If he were to destroy Sunak as well, that would be 5 in a very few years.
And that would be him just getting started. That would be his amuse-bouche. Every single person that enters his orbit ends up getting chucked under a bus. Why aren't people learning that lesson?
I mean, he is a truly one of the most maligned people that is possible. And actually, weirdly, you begin to notice this, actually, that that whole kind of fluffy-haired, kind of like big sort of panda act.
It's an act. It is an act. He is a human wrecking ball.
Absolutely, and you can see now that just how angry he is every time you see him on camera. He looks. You can see into his soul. You can see that basically behind the fluffy panda act, there is this kind of raging nihilist.
Yeah. Why can't people just give me everything I want right now? Is his attitude.
The way I feel too, Nick, but sadly you and I are never going to get there, mate.
No. All right, thanks for the bad news, Ben. 0345 6060 973. Yvonne emails, does Carrie Antoinette have special glasses that enable her to see not Billy Bunter as we do, but Adonis? Surely she can't find him a pin-up. Well, shall I refer you to the Mrs. Merton gag that has been said many times before? Martin in Harrow emails, any idea why Thames Water are running a TV ad campaign showing a Muppet, probably representing us punters, asking why they are digging up the road? What are they advertising? We can't choose what water company we use, so why advertise? Yes, we can't choose what water company we use. That is completely correct. We're the only country in the world that's been stupid enough to give our water away. But we didn't even sell it, really. We just gave it away. Gave away monopolies to corporations and sovereign wealth funds, and then with the stated intention of them treating us well. How's that going, by the way?
Dreadful.
Shocking. The mothers of a group of teenage boys who were violently sick after swimming in the River Thames near Henley are demanding answers. Answers to questions like, how can you have been so stupid to touch the water in an English river, let alone swim in it? Don't you read the news? That sort of question. The 7 boys, aged 14 and 15, enjoyed a day in the sun by the river, but within 36 hours, 5 of them suffered vomiting, diarrhoea and stomach pain, which their mothers believed was caused by pollution in the water. One said, why shouldn't they be able to enjoy themselves in the river in their own town? It makes me really angry, said the mother. Well, one of the reasons that they shouldn't be able to enjoy themselves in the river in their own town is the Conservative Party, which sold off our water for private profit to rich families and wealth funds and corporations run by people who don't even live in this country. The same Conservative Party that has allowed those same water companies to do pretty much whatever they like and have treated us as the mugs that we so obviously are.
Correct.
And I don't know about the parents of those boys who got ill swimming in the river near Henley, but the good people of Henley overwhelmingly voted Conservative at the last general election by a huge majority. In fact, they voted Conservative in Henley at every general election for over 100 years. So if I was one of those boys, I would be asking my parents about that. The boys spent most of the day on Sunday the 21st of May by the river in Remenham. One began complaining of feeling unwell the following evening. His mother said he woke me up around midnight and vomited through to the early morning. Another boy would vomit every hour and a bit, his mother said. He was exhausted from all that vomiting. There's nothing funny about this. She posted on a Facebook community group asking for advice and was stunned when other people responded with similar experiences. She said, what shocked me most was that they are throwing sewage in the water and we have athletes coming here from all over the world. Are they aware of the state of the water? Since rowing brings so much money to this town and is a big part of our local community, why are they throwing sewage in the water? Well, let's think about that for a second. I think that's the reason. It's all about the money, honey. One of the mothers said, we looked at Thames Water's interactive discharge map, but it's really difficult to find out what you're looking for because there's so many points to look at and think about how they relate to you. I first checked and it said location not recognised, so I had to zoom in to find out where I was. You then have to think about currents and be a scientist in some ways to even work out how and where it's getting in the water. I think we have the right to know, she said. Why is it allowed and who's allowing it? Why are we paying all these massive water bills for our sewage to be put in our local rivers? It's just crazy, she said. This is in Henley. The 2023 Henley Royal Regatta will take place over 6 days from Tuesday the 27th of June. And those athletes will be just fine, as long as they don't put their boats in the water. And by the way, in unrelated news, Thames Water posted profits of £400 million for the last 6 months of last year. The water industry has taken on debts of £54 billion since privatisation, and they gave it to China, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Australia, in vast payouts to executives too. They get rained on by our money, and we get a shower of,
Disgusting.
Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, but never mind about that. I wonder what Philip Schofield thinks about the water. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
Mike emails, he was naughty in his private life, yet apparently with no right to privacy. He's no worse than thousands of others, including King Charles III, who cheated on his wife and still got to be king, with nobody making much of a fuss. This is about Philip Schofield, right? Not to mention a few prime ministers, especially a very recent one who shops for his morals in a dung heap. We have the nastiest, most dishonest bunch of destructively corrupt politicians in history, and they are still people who praise them while pontificating about a television personality they have never met and whose life is none of their business, nor affects theirs in any way. Pitiful spectacle of unjustified, sanctimonious outrage from mindless gossips who would be well advised to develop a sense of perspective. Yeah, too much blooming perspective. Tom says, hi Nick, when you get replaced by AI, do we still get the soundboard clips?
Negative.
No, I'm taking them with me. No robots taking over this show. But they might actually kill everything. Don't forget to remind me to talk about that, because there's just an absolutely stunning thing happened this week. Reading, hello Miguel.
Oh, hello.
Yes, Miguel.
That's my impersonation of Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Right.
By the way, though, yeah, go ahead.
No, my view is that that's not very good.
My view?
Not very good.
Oh, thank God. I believe the word you were looking earlier is intensive care.
Intensive care. Yes, they're looking very hard at people in the beds area. Intensive care, yeah.
So, unfortunately, I'm calling you about Philip Schofield. Because, once again, unfortunately, because I agree with most of your views, that this is a bit irrelevant and a smokescreen for what's actually going on. But I think they will. This is just. It's like a play, and this is just Act 1.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me! This is Act 1.
No.
This has been going on for 7 days. Act 1 lasts for 7 days. Wagner's Ring cycle doesn't last this long.
Bear with me. So I think Act 2 will be Philip and Holly. I believe that's her name. If not, I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, somebody like that. Holly, somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So she will forgive him. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another 7 days.
Yeah.
And
and then they'll get back together again, and the morning duo is returned.
Well, but there's an Act 3, right?
Right.
Which is Philip gets reinstated at ITV. That's where my money is, by the way.
Right. Okay. Well, be prepared to lose a lot of money. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Miguel. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Or to win a lot of money. I mean, it sounds very believable what he just outlined for us there. Prague. Ian.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'm calling because I'm just very jealous right now that the UK, looking from abroad from the evil EU, that the UK is so wonderful. There's no problems except for a daytime TV host having an affair. You look on BBC, we get it here, but it's commercials, and it's the main page. Who's Philip Schofield? And local friends are saying to me, is there no issues involved?
Yeah.
Problems in the United Kingdom? And
everything is just
some bloke on the
fine.
telly.
Yeah.
So a Brexit bonus.
It's a Brexit
I
bonus.
think, maybe.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
Finally, we found one. Yeah.
And I love your show you do with Carol McGiffin. But I don't so you say, but she was on GV News talking about it today. I mean, everybody seems to be talking about it. I wish you guys do a great podcast. So if you do, I hope she can just stick to that. JB News is not good.
I'll quiz her about it at length.
Oh, right, yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ian. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. So there it is, the view from abroad. It looks like everything is just fine and dandy in this country. There are no problems. I mean, there certainly aren't kids who are going to bed hungry. Not in this country, because we're obsessed with what's happening on a daytime television show. TV program on in the morning. Who's watching that? Genuine question. Who is actually watching that show? How can you have that much time on your hands that you are the first thing you do is sit down and watch television in the morning? I mean, even people who are long-term ill, is there just absolutely nothing better that you can do with your life than sit there with your mouth open watching that tripe? It just mystifies me. It really does. I mean, there are so many other better things to do. I mean, you can sit down and correct people on Twitter, for instance. Staring out the window would be a better use of your time. If you are able, go out and have a walk in a park. Read a book. You remember books, don't you?
No.
Well, try reading one. You've probably got one, lying about the place somewhere. Even if you've read it before, reading it again would be better. Flip through a magazine would be a better use of your time. Start a hobby. Collect stamps or other people's body parts. I don't know. Anything would be better than sitting down there just gawping at that chewing gum for the brain that is morning television. I just don't get it. 0345 6060 973. Let's have John in Sandbach. John.
I just can't stop. I just can't stop laughing. I lose track of everything I want to say. Johnson's a sociopath, by the way.
And now, what is the definition of a sociopath? Somebody who only cares about himself. No empathy.
Yeah, empathy. You don't understand the word empathy or sympathy. They don't exist in their vocabulary or their mind or what have you.
Yeah.
And don't you think it's convenient he's lost the first phone that dealt with the first 12 months of the pandemic and all the apps that were on that?
Now, has he lost it, or has he saying that he can't open it because of security concerns, and the moment that he can open it, the security services allow it, then he'll certainly hand that over. Don't you worry about a thing. I mean, everything that we know about Boris Johnson and his relationship to the truth means that it is very difficult to believe anything he says on any subject.
Exactly. I don't believe him. I don't believe Sunak. I mean, these two playing games, and we're the ones going to suffer from it.
Yeah, we're paying for it.
We are literally, like you say, paying big dollars.
Yeah,
well,
huge.
Big money.
I mean, Boris Johnson's legal bill is touching £1 million. How are we paying for that, for him? How? Why?
Why? Remember the parliamentary inquiry?
Well, which
that
one?
he was misleading Parliament. What happened to that?
Yes. Yeah, any moment now they're going to admonish him. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't chill him to the bone, they'll criticise him. Don't you worry about a thing.
He sacked one legal representative.
Yeah.
Got another one. Yeah. And who's paying for that?
We are.
I was. Yeah.
The little people. Yeah.
Yeah, all the athletes who kind of come over to Headley, put the oars in the water, and when he raised the oars that were white before they went in, they'll be coloured.
No, not white no more. That's absolutely true, yeah.
He won't be white anymore.
Those rowers are going to need a hazmat suit.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're going through in this country.
It really is.
And we're talking about a bloke on a morning TV show.
Yeah, we are witnessing the slow destruction of what used to be a great nation, and they're distracting us with Philip Schofield and boats.
The country's priority is to stop the boats.
If the country's priority is not to stop the boats, Fishy Sunak, focus groups have told you to keep saying that over and over again, which is why he repeats it like an automaton.
Affirmative.
Like a robot. And you can see him whenever he's interviewed. Oh my God, it's so annoying. He bobs his head up and down as though he's playing dodgeball for a start, cannot be still, and just keeps repeating the same thing over and over. Well, my top 5 priorities are the people's top 5 priorities. And it's stop the boats and stop the boats and stop the boats and stop the boats and stop the boats. Oh, and halving inflation, which was going to come down anyway without the good judgment of this ruling cabal, and is apparently not. So he felt confident that he could say he's going to halve inflation by the end of the year because everybody thought that was precisely what's going to happen. And now apparently we're being run so catastrophically badly that he might not even be able to do that. So it's all about stopping the boats, which he isn't stopping, by the way, because if he actually stopped them, then there wouldn't be the promise to stop them anymore. They want to keep this going, just like they want to keep the rail strikes going. Just another way to make you angry and deflect your ire onto somebody else. Hey, John, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. God, it's so depressing. It really is. And there are some people who are so deluded whose answer to this is, well, if you don't like it, you can get out of our country. If you don't like it, you can get out of our country. If you don't like an unelected leader drawing power to himself that has previously never been attempted, who are banning protests not just at the moment of the protest, but before you protest, you can be arrested. If you are in possession of sellotape, you can be arrested. And if you don't like any of that, then you're a traitor, apparently, in some people's minds. This whole country has gone doolally, which is a a technical term known only to psychologists. But I'll sum it up for you. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
You've got a good, your mind is a little bit, three-dimensional.
No, I have no idea what you mean. David texts, Nick, it is disgusting. It's a witch hunt. Poor Boris goes for a well-earned rest in Las Vegas after working tirelessly for his constituents and the knives come out. It's a stitch-up. He should be left alone. He's doing his best, says David. Yeah. Please, Bodge, stop doing your best. I don't think that this country can afford it anymore. This is the story in The Independent. It's been reported here, there and everywhere, baby. Blobby Johnson blundered into a crucial Brexit deal, a concession with Australia, over a chaotic dinner with the Prime Minister Scott Morrison at Number 10. He was bounced into signing a disastrous post-Brexit agreement after the Australians seized on a schoolboy howler over meat import quotas during negotiations. He was trying to negotiate. Anybody remember Mrs. M? It seems like ancient history, don't it? Back when this country was sort of run by people that seemed to be professional. Dim, distant memory. An Australian official made an excuse to go to the Downing Street loo. No, wait a minute. No, okay, this is all round the wrong way. According to Politico website, at the 14th of June 2021 dinner, Mr. Johnson agreed to measure beef imports by the weight of only cuts of meat rather than the entire cow, which is much heavier, of course. In imperial measurements, by the way, 1 cow equals 1 Johnson. It is alleged that by agreeing to a measure that Australian meat imports to the UK to measure them by cuts of meat, not the whole cow, Boris Johnson effectively signed off a massive increase in how much meat Australia can send to Britain. Over an epic dinner of Welsh lamb, Scottish smoked salmon and Australian wine at Number 10 Downing Street, the two Prime Ministers chewed out the final details of the trade pact their respective governments have been working on for nearly a year. The Aussies pressed Johnson to give them what they wanted on beef. To their amazement, Johnson gave way on tariffs and product weights. Brandis, the Australian High Commissioner, moved like a flash, writing down Johnson's pledge on a piece of paper and then excused himself to go to the loo. On his way to the toilet, he handed that piece of paper to an aide. The aide digitally scanned the note and sent it to the Australian High Commission, where a waiting colleague turned it into a formal trade document. They sent it back and they printed it out inside Number 10 and then placed that document into an official-looking folder. The folder was handed back to the Australian High Commissioner as he headed back from the loo. As the meal continued, the Australians pulled out these new documents, asked Johnson to sign them, and he did. Of course, said Johnson, signing the documents before those present. In doing so, the British Prime Minister said he hoped a favourable deal would make up for the UK joining the EU back in 1973, according to 3 people directly familiar with the events. Our Prime Minister was apologising to Australians for something that we did 50 years ago that has nothing to do with them. God, we'll be paying them reparations next. Well, actually, we are, thanks to Mr. Blobby.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And they're laughing at us. Like, literally, on television, the Australian news is laughing at this country. So did the New Zealand news, by the way. New Zealand farmers can't believe the deal that they managed to fashion from us. And in both cases, I suspect that the reasons are that our negotiators weren't remotely interested in actually negotiating something that was beneficial for this country. They just wanted to come back and say, hey, Brexit benefit, everybody. Look, we've just negotiated a trade deal. OK, they're with countries that are so far away you'd have to get into a rocket ship and blast off into space to get further. But it's a Brexit benefit. This country is being slowly dismantled. If it were a car, it'd be up on bricks right now and the wheels would be gone. Liz Truss, by the way, when she found out, she was said to be livid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very, very angry that we'd given away so much to Australia and got so little back for it. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Liz Truss.
What?
Yeah. Australia's chief negotiator said to Liz Truss, too late, your boss has already conceded the whole kingdom, according to a former minister involved in the talks. You know, it could only be worse, this story, if unelected official, negotiating expert and melting candle David Frost had something to do with it. In other news, Brexit negotiator David Frost was at that same dinner.
Oh, no.
Advisers said Liz Truss wanted the talks reopened after Boris Johnson's concession. But the Australians threatened to tell the media that the UK was going back on its first post-Brexit trade deal. It's like we're being run by children in an adult world. We're in the adult world. He's over at Peppa Pig World.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World it has
yes.
Peppa Pig
is the right answer. Mentally, he's off to the funfair while the rest of us are forced to live in the reality that he has fashioned for us on a piece of toilet paper. I mean, how appropriate is that, by the way? He's flushed the future of British farming away with a note written on toilet paper.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And the National Farmers Union were asked about this, and they said, just another industry sold down the polluted river by a government that's trying to make it seem like they haven't sold us down the river and will do anything, spend any amount, ruin whatever it takes to get away with it. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
And like I said before, no offence to the Australians, but they're laughing at us. That's embarrassing. 0345 6060 973. Portugal, Mark.
Oh, blimey, Nick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Excellent. Sorry, I've got my earphones in and stuff. I agree completely with you on the Philip Schofield thing. What a diversionary tactic that is from all the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Particularly as they are about to. The clock is running out on this little scheme that they've got to divert around Parliament, not bring power back to Parliament, but bring all power to the little Sun King who is sitting in number 10 and banning just the idea of protest.
Hey, Nick, do you remember that you were talking about the fellow called out earlier about the Sun being a broadsheet? Well, I remember when the Sun first came out, there was never a broadsheet, but up there, 5 days to the Sun. It was on the ITV, on the adverts, and then 3 days to the Sun when they first set up the Sun, you know?
That was, was that in the early 60s, wasn't it?
It must have been later than that because I wouldn't have been aware of it by then. I'd say 70s, sometime in the 70s, I'd have said. Early 70s.
Ah, right. Okay, as a tabloid, right.
Yeah, it was a tabloid. No problem. Yeah, push.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, Nick, with universal credit and that, and them putting... doesn't it mean that the taxpayers are subsidising companies who aren't paying enough money?
That's precisely what that means.
Isn't that what it means?
Yes. It's socialism, but it's taking the money from the poor and giving it to the rich. Yes, it's socialism in reverse.
How come no one ever points it out? Look, it means taxpayers, us. Look, I'm sorry, I live in Portugal. I do still pay tax in England anyway. But I mean, it means the taxpayers in England are subsidising companies who aren't paying enough wages. That doesn't make any sense.
And then people in the government are criticising those people who can't get by on poverty wages and saying that they should manage their finances better. Somewhat forgetting the point about the previous Prime Minister managing his finances so badly that he needed on 160 grand a year plus £250,000 expenses, who apparently never pays for anything at all. Even that wasn't enough, and he needed to get somebody to organise an 800 grand loan.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Just to keep him going. We got the nerve to criticise those who are earning £8-10 an hour that they can't organise their finances in order to get by. What a nerve. Hey, Mark, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. Okay, just think happy thoughts. Happy thoughts. Think of butterflies. You haven't seen a butterfly lately? Okay. Bees. Oh no, they're dying. Mad bats. Got a lot of mad bats around. Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys.
Here we go.
Okay, so I'll do that poll again. Because the news was that, Boris Johnson has no problem in letting it all out. And I don't believe that they were talking about his bottom hanging out of his suit trousers.
Disgusting.
He has no problem letting all that out. But hands up who thinks that Boris Johnson is going to give over all relevant information and messages and so on to the inquiry. Hands up. Now, hands up who thinks that he won't. It's still overwhelming. 0345 6060 973. This text says, with all the bad news that might otherwise both depress their readers and draw attention to the abysmal job being done by the Tories in running the country, it's a mystery why there is so much attention being given to the exploits of Philip Schofield. Quite. It's the mystery, as Toyer used to say. Blimey, some of these texts are very, very long. That's less a text, more like a booklet. Should I really read all of those words? No. I think we're both agreed on Yeah, we're thinking about it. Hillingdon, Marcus.
Hey, hello Nick, how are you?
Good, thanks.
No, excellent. Basically, obviously, hats off and admiration for the show, its callers, and the general amusement I lose thread when I'm, listening to you. But Schofield, yeah, my initial thought was among the initial distractions, it really had to be about the immigration figures.
Perhaps.
I mean, obviously, they've milked it as long as possible.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, they've still got this explaining to do. Basically, I'm in a funny place. My father has got, he's got bronchitis, he's got a 30% chance pulling through. I don't know, man, people like you just make life really bloody worthwhile. The person I would most want to kind of continue attack on is Jacob Rees-Mogg, because the thing is, this is a guy that, even if he loses his seat, he knows he can talk whatever the hell he likes without a count. He's halfway around the world before anybody realises he's a liar. And as an ex-Catholic, I don't know, there was about 3 or 4 different kind of his own biblical thing. I could just laugh my head off at him. He's just ridiculous.
Okay, all right, thanks a lot, Mark. Remember that he did say this.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away by getting rid of the protectionist anti-trade tariffs that the EU imposes, and it would be very good for the British people, and it would provide certainty. And I think once there's certainty, the country will begin to reunite.
God, he sounds like Margaret Thatcher, actually, when you listen to him, doesn't he? Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Now, I don't know whether Jacob Rees-Mogg is a liar, but absolutely everything that he just said on that clip is incorrect. Is the opposite of the truth.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear
straight away. Straight away. We could have it straight away. It's because he presents himself in that supercilious manner that we, the little people, are trained to think of him as some sort of seer, as a sage, as somebody who knows more about things than we do, because that's the way in which he presents himself. He speaks like that, and there is we have undergone a lot of training, not just as individuals, but over generations, to doff our caps to people what talk like that. Now, it don't mean that they know anything. But it's like Pavlov's dogs. We instinctively react to somebody who talks like that as though they are our superior, born to lead. I mean, this is a man who doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything.
See? The only thing he knows is that he doesn't know anything. And we still just can't help ourselves but to genuflect before him and those of his ilk. It's a very sick country. Well, if you don't like it, why don't you get out? What's incredible is that the damage that he and people like him have done to this country, and particularly a certain demographic, it's those people who have suffered the most who would defend him the most. That's how twisted we are. That's how twisted we have become. Those most hurt defend them. Defend those that are doing the hurting the most. Stockholm Syndrome, I think they call it. Thanks a lot, Marcus. 0345 6060 973. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick.
Hi,
Good
Jan.
evening. Yeah, I take on board all that you're saying about Schofield, but I had an idea that this is the week when all that fear about AI was put out about human life being wiped out, and at the same time, all the amazing benefits of AI, say with that paralyzed man being able to walk by having an AI implant put in his brain, the paralyzed man for 12 years, and all the medical research, the leaps and bounds that are being made in it. Mm-hmm. That's the plus side. But on the other side, there's a whole body of the press as well. This is what I'm coming back to. I can't go a bit circular around way getting back to Schofield. And a point I'd like to make, about the press, because at there's a big contingent in the world of writing that looks upon AI-generated content as being very exciting in the world of writing.
Well, what they're excited about mostly is the ability to fire all of those journalists, and then those stories can write themselves.
Well, exactly. I was surprised to see that the national press are putting out AI-written articles, but we won't know that they've been written by robots.
Nope.
And that they may be even doing some, the media barons doing some social experiment, or just getting it all underway. So some of that content about, they're doing outlines of articles. I mean, they're already there.
You'll only be able to tell whether it's a robot or it's a human being is if it's all spelt correctly. It's the robot.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
But also the it's story. You can write a novel. You can do all kinds of writing with these AI things, not just the books, articles, but they're all out there. I mean, but they're not saying we won't know who it is. The robot. I mean, the article writer, the automated article written would be assigned a name. Maybe some fancy name.
Jan, are you a robot? Because I think somebody needs to turn you off and on again.
Oh, okay.
Not happy?
No, well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Look, the AI isn't necessarily going to be some Armageddon for mankind, a dystopian future. It could be.
No, it sounds like exactly that's what it's going to be.
Well, what about the medical side to it?
Yes, Jan, everybody's going to get well before being annihilated by a robot army. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, that was my point. I just thought we wouldn't know if some of these stories like that, but how the way Schofield. I know it's a diversionary thing, but these.
You're saying that those stories about Philip Schofield have been generated by artificial intelligence?
Well, I don't know. You said you looked a lot about.
Well, I think they've been generated by artificial interest. I just do not believe that the country is as interested as a news organisation writing 15 stories in one day on that subject. I just don't believe it. Artificial interest, yes. Artificial intelligence, well, I don't know. But I wouldn't be remotely surprised. Thanks a lot, Jan. 0345 6060 973. These emails are too long. They just go on too long. Look at that. There's like about 1,000 words in there. I'll start. I don't know if I'll get to the end of it, but I'll start this one, see how it goes. K emails, if you want to go for the jugular, Nick, try that X. Try that X ... question mark. What does that mean? And then the words something ... Nadine Dorris. Okay, see, fortunately it went off the rails right at the beginning there, and I can dismiss the rest of the 1,000 words in that text. I'll try this one. David Bounds Green emails, what exactly is the scandal about Philip Schofield? Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan. Can't stand the man, to be honest, but I really don't get all the hand-wringing. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I had several encounters and a few short relationships with women in the late 30s and early 40s. I had a lot of fun, went to places I wouldn't ordinarily go, and learned a lot. Looking back, my biggest wonder is how they could cope with my arrogant, ignorant 19 and 20-year-old self. Sometimes love affairs go wrong, and yes, there was a power imbalance, but there's a power imbalance in every relationship, and there's not indication that he was abusive to the lad. Does anyone even care, apart from the media? It's like they're writing all these stories for each other. Anyway, live long and prosper. I'm going to put the kettle on, says Dave. Right. Let's have Solihull. Callum.
Hi, Nick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, fantastic. There's 2 points I want to bring up. The first, well, they're both connected, but the first one I hate even talking about because, again, it's about Philip Schofield.
Oh, my God.
And everyone keeps talking about it, blah, blah, blah. But the reason that I was initially interested was because I thought it's going to be a big scandal, like another BBC Jimmy Savile scandal. Where's the rest? I'm waiting for the punchline. And why do they keep talking about it? What are they trying to distract from? Is it because
everything? They're trying to distract us from everything. The immigration numbers that came out, this attempt to go around Parliament to kind of act like an emperor is what Rishi Sunak is doing right now, and extinguishing all possibility of protest against the regime. That's coming up in about a week or so. And only the Green Party Baroness Jenny Jones is between us and this dystopian nightmare happening to us. So if they can just distract us until June the 14th, then it will be job done, and we might live under this regime forever.
It's actually scary that so many people are falling for it. Well, I wouldn't even say myself because I feel like I'm a bit more aware, but look at the amount of calls that you're getting about Philip Schofield rather than what the real issues are.
Yeah.
But to quickly get on to my next point, what I was on about in regards to what are they distracting us from. So you know that Boris Johnson has been very, very quick to try and hand over his WhatsApp messages.
Yeah.
His messages are only from May 2021. Do you know how previously there are ministers that have lost phones when messages needed to be retrieved?
Coincidental.
So he set up the inquiry in May 2021, and he also got a brand new phone in May 2021. So anything before that are not going to be included on all of these messages, and that's something that I'm not hearing much about. And if anything, it's that first year that we need to be really hearing and seeing what they've actually been talking about between themselves. That will talk about all the different contracts, any sort of jokes that they make between themselves, whether they actually took the lockdowns themselves seriously or anything like that. There's a reason he's so keen to pass over all these messages, and it's because he knows he's covered his tracks because he got a brand new phone the same month that he set up the inquiry.
Right. Well, I think that if you believe that Boris Johnson is willingly going to give over all of the information that is about COVID and about his actions during the pandemic, then I have a genuine made-in-China Rolex watch I'd like to sell you. Thanks a lot, Callum. 0345 6060 973. We're never going to get to the bottom of this because the government will use all of the means at their disposal to avoid us getting to the bottom of it. They will use our money as a weapon against us. And they have an unlimited amount of our money. That they're being so bold about it is just really extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, they just don't seem to care anymore. They don't care how it looks because they're about to ban all protests. I mean, these things may be coincidental. Green Party Baroness Jenny Jones has tabled a fatal motion, which sounds like a toilet-related death. You know, like Elvis.
Rock and roll!
A fatal motion. Green Party Baroness Jenny Jones has tabled a fatal motion for the 13th of June. This is to stop the government from using a ministerial decree to overturn a vote in the Lords. It's the first time ever that a government minister has tried to use secondary legislation to directly overturn the will of Parliament. You know that whole thing about getting control back to Parliament, leaving the European Union? It wasn't about getting it back to Parliament. They weren't remotely interested in democracy. They just wanted all control to themselves. You know, like a dictatorship. All of that stuff about returning sovereignty to Parliament, well, it turns out they didn't mean Parliament, they meant themselves. They want to bring all power to reside solely with the regime. And you can't protest about it because the ministerial decree is about stopping you protesting. Checkmate. You've all been had. How's Brexit working out for you so far?
Oh, fabulous.
LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Chris in Stubbington says, today I tried to go swimming at my local council leisure centre, but I was turned away as I only had cash. I explained I had cerebral palsy and find cases hard to use. Cases? Hard to use, but I was told cash is unacceptable and I had to leave. Right. We are sliding into a cashless society, ladies and gentlemen, and you will miss it when it's gone. You might not think you will, but you will. All that's got to happen is the internet goes out. Now, the internet is a construct that has been made by human beings.
Affirmative.
And human beings tend to screw things up a lot. And so if it hasn't broken yet, it will do. And when it breaks, you won't be able to get money out. You won't be able to get cash out of the cash machine. You won't be able to pay for anything. Your credit card won't work, which means you won't be able to buy anything. And the only thing that will be acceptable in such a circumstance is cash money, even in places that say that they don't take it, or they will. If they find they can't sell anything any other way. And if you haven't already got cash out, that means that, you're screwed. And as people don't really carry cash anymore, that is a scenario that is actually really quite frightening. Because I think there would be civil war, there would be riots in the streets after about 10 seconds if the internet went out. And the internet covers or controls everything. This whole AI thing is, I wonder if I should keep this over till tomorrow or just blurt it out tonight. Because there was a couple of stories this week about artificial intelligence that were just jaw-dropping. It's like we're living in a movie, a really bad one that seems to last forever. This film is longer than Lord of the Rings. New Malden, Ahmed.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Ahmed.
What's with this lot running the country into the ground? Well, this lot in 10 Downing Street, inside, outside, they seem to be running the country into ground, in fact, maybe into the sea. They can't seem to do anything right, say anything right, so much so for Rishi Sunak's beliefs in transparency and
integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability.
At every level, sure, Rishi, sure.
And yet he was not prepared to release all the unredacted WhatsApp.
You just kept harping on about how many messages and so on that they have given already, as though that's got anything to do with it. We want the ones we haven't seen. Never mind about the ones that you are prepared to give over. We want the ones that you're not prepared to give over.
So, out of spite, now, Boris Johnson now has released everything.
Yeah, so he says.
Is there not time for Rishi Sunak to resign now? I mean, he's there, by default anyway in the first place. Third unelected Prime Minister this year.
Yeah, he was so bad he lost to this woman.
Absolutely.
To her.
Absolutely. So, these people just can't get can't do anything right, it seems, at the moment.
Well, maybe you're
And
just
why
looking
are
at
we just taking
Ahmed.
it?
Maybe
We are
you're
just-
Ahmed. Maybe you're looking at it from the wrong angle. Maybe they are doing things right. It's just that what they're trying to do is not right by us.
Yes. So I think they should all be put on a zero contract with
Yes.
expenses. So that might bring them, to their senses and what everyone else is going through. At the
Well,
moment.
I think that their pay should be reflected in how much actual work they do on behalf of their constituents, which means that Bodger Johnson owes us a lot of money.
Yes, but I won't begrudge him the £800,000. So obviously, his family has, expanded now.
Yeah, it's very, very
so
expensive.
he needs all the money he needs.
All that solid gold wallpaper they'll be needing. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Ahmed. 0345 6060 973. How does that man need so much money? He doesn't pay for anything. He doesn't pay for anything. I mean, he's been adopted by a family of billionaires like he's their pet. They put him up in homes. He gets his holidays for free, gets his lunch for free, he gets his travel for free. What does he actually pay for? Ever? Obviously doesn't spend a lot of money on clothes. I think he needs a refund from his tailor, Abbot.
Yeah. Wait.
Want to need it taken out at the back there. Jeff in Bromley says, regarding the Aussies laughing at our country and how low we've sunk, the Tories did say that we'd be world-beating, don't forget. Yeah, not world-amusing, world-beating. Johnny says, did you see Biden's facelift and his on-stage stumble? The most powerful nation in the Western world with 335 million people to choose from, and the best duo they can offer is the groping orange buffoon and Mr. Burns. Civilization is doomed, he said.
The American dream is dead.
Yeah, and civilization is doomed. That's right. The groping orange buffoon. I thought he was going to be so great to women.
I will be so great to women. I cherish women.
He cherishes women.
I cherish women.
He cherishes women, Melania.
I don't care.
She's not that bothered. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a look now. In Guildford is a person called Peter. Peter?
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate.
Yeah, looking at this, I'm no fan of Philip Schofield, and I've never watched those sort of shows.
But
what occurs to me is he's had an affair, and the press, they not only got, in effect, got him the sack and ruined his career, they seem to want to be pushing him right over the edge
definitely.
to suicide.
I would agree 100%. That's exactly what they want.
And yet, the irony of it is, while they're doing that to him, who's just a celebrity that people watch, while they're doing it to him, we make another adulterer the king.
Yeah. Well, we had an adulterer who was the Prime Minister of this country.
Exactly.
Well, more than one, I would bet.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the press, especially the right-wing press, their role seems to be solely to distract people, to cause hatred and division, all that. They are like an agency that, that works on behalf, propaganda agency that works for the government, and they'll pick on any little trivial matter.
Anything.
What he does in his private life is entirely up to him. But like you said about Bodge, I mean, you couldn't have a more cad and bounder, as they used to say. You couldn't have a more. Look at him now, like you said.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He's going over to America. He's making a fortune. His constituencies back there saying, where's our MP?
Yes.
The real people doing the work are the people that work in his office.
Well, stupid constituents for voting for him in the first place, thinking that he was going to be, diligent about conducting his business around their affairs.
What gets me, Nick, more than anything, we're at a time where you've got a cost of living crisis. Now, ordinary people are not worried so much. Some people will be interested, but they're not worried about Philip Schofield. And most people will say that's his price. What they're worried about is, how do I pay my fuel bill?
Yeah.
How do I eat?
Can
you
I
know,
put a deposit down on a pack of butter?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. How do I get a home? All that. And for some unknown, curious reason that we know about, the press don't want to talk about that because the government that allows that to go on are their mates. They're the ones they support. So they put all this rubbish. You can guarantee, as you know, Nick, next week it'll be a story about Prince Harry or whatever.
Oh, well, he's been out of the news for about 7 days now, coincidentally, as Philip Schofield has sucked up all of the oxygen in the room. But Hazard and Sparkles will be front and centre before you know it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, he's well due for another going over by the press. But the thing is, the press in this case, what really upsets me is the press in this case, they're not reflecting the views of ordinary people, and of course they won't, because they're I call them, they're owned, in effect, the reporters, by the billionaire. You know, I don't mean owned literally, but what they write, what they say is all reflective of the views of the billionaire newspaper owners. Now, you imagine if you had the Sun newspaper, right, during the election of Jeremy Corbyn and so on, during the election, and the Sun newspaper editor said, I'm going to run a front page tomorrow saying, get Jezza in, he's the best thing since sliced bread. His feet wouldn't touch the ground.
No, he would get
out.
Fired.
Murdoch would have him out in an instant.
He would load him into a cannon and blast him through the nearest window.
We don't really have a free press, Nick. Not all the while billionaires can own all newspapers. That is wrong. And the trouble is in this country...
I completely agree. It's particularly wrong that they're owned by owners who don't actually live here. Yeah, Peter, we're slightly over time, but thanks for that. Gotta go.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. This text says taxpayers are being billed up to £245,000 to cover the cost of Boris Johnson's Partygate inquiry lawyers. It's way more than that. I think we're on £1 million now. His lawyers are costing us. It says he earned £5.5 million since standing down as Prime Minister, but still, let's get angry about Philip Schofield. Exactly. Nutshelled it for us there. Let's have Wendy in Fulham. Wendy.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Wendy.
Hello. The gentleman that phoned a lot earlier about the hole in the coal.
The hole in the coal,
the coal in the hole.
The holy coal. Mm-hmm.
And, see, I heard different that, yes, they're digging coal, and it's not what we want, the Welsh. It's not that kind of coal. So they export it to China.
I believe that is what is happening, yeah. We're we're ruining Wales to export coal to China, yeah.
Because it's rubbish coal, isn't it? It's rubbish coal.
I'm no coal expert, but that is what I heard, yeah.
My dad was a coal miner. No, I know. So what do they use it for? China?
What do they use it for? I don't know. What do they use it for?
Yeah, just, I thought, when you think, did I hear it or was I dreaming? You've confirmed it. It was real, wasn't it? Yeah. I just wanted to come back on the gentleman from Wales.
Right.
And because me, Mum.
But you don't know whether you were dreaming it or whether it was real life. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Well, does this help? Wake up, Wendy. All right, thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Matty in Suffolk texts, I was listening in on LBC last night. An elderly lady called Anita rang in talking about Boris. And then she said it. Why don't they leave Boris alone? And I shouted out, he's doing his best. Yeah, deluded. I mean, really, just the level of delusion is off the scale with certain individuals. It's just ridiculous. Chris says, you're missing the whole point with Schofield. It's not the affair, it's the age gap, and specifically the age the other person was when they met. If you had a mate in their 50s who made friends with a 15-year-old and they had an affair 4 years later, would that not strike you as odd? Especially if said story came out just after your mate's brother was locked up for sexually assaulting a child. Yeah, well, he ain't his brother's keeper. So that's irrelevant. And as far as I'm aware, from the acres of newsprint that have crossed my eyes on this story, they might have met when they were 15, but they didn't meet subsequently until 4 years later. So what difference does that make? Colin says, now that food prices are set to fall, will 30p Lee Anderson become 20p Lee? I don't think food prices are going to fall. I think food inflation will fall. But that doesn't mean that prices are coming down. That means that prices will be going up less quickly. I don't think they're coming down, are they? Newcastle. Hello, Jed. Oh, Jed. Jed. Final call
Hello.
for Jed. Come in, Jed. Your
Speaking.
time is almost up. Yes, sir.
Hi, can you hear me, Nick?
I can. Go ahead. Okay, too late, Jed. 0345 6060 973. Well, I did my best. I can only do my best. You either are or aren't there. Chris in Oxford says, evening, Nick. I think the Johnson nonsense is like an airline pilot crashing his plane and only handing over the information on the black box that he sees as relevant. Yeah, it's not for the person handing over the information to decide what is and is not relevant. It's for the person who is actually handling the inquiry. That's the point of the inquiry. I mean, if everyone who was suspected of being guilty of something was only required to pass on information that puts them in a good light, no one would be in jail right now. Sharon says, Sunak always looks like a little lost schoolboy who's just become a school prefect and it's gone to his head. He always looks to me like, as I've said before, he's in a game of dodgeball. He bounces his head around. I don't know whether it's in direct relation to the amount of disinformation he is passing on, but he does seem to bounce his head around a lot. Like one of those dogs that you used to see on the back shelf of a Austin Allegro. You know, those little nodding dog things? It's like his head's on a spring. He just never keeps it still. And it is as though he's been programmed as a piece of artificial intelligence. He just keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over again. Yes, as I said, our top priority, my number one priority is the boats. Regardless of what the question is, he just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. In his mind, does that make him look good to us? Because I beg to differ. It just makes him look shifty and suspicious. Can't answer a single question ever. And gets very irate when when he's even close to being brought to task about anything. As though he's like glided through his life, never hearing the word no. It is no way to run a country. It really isn't. There's something seriously gone wrong in this country. That's very, very badly wrong. Somebody should take us apart and check. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Malcolm.
Nick?
Yes, sir.
Nick, you there? Nick, sitting here listening, I've had an absolute stream of consciousness, but I've distilled...
That sounds awful. Did you get any on the floor?
I've distilled it down to 3 or 4 points. So I'd like to finish, if you'd allow me, on scooters, electric scooters, and I got something quite interesting to say on that.
Well,
Nick,
I'll be the judge of that, Malcolm.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay. I think the government are going to run the inquiry in the same manner that they break laws, in a limited and specific way.
Right.
And I think that said inquiry will prove that they got all the big calls right.
Yes.
And I think there's a way for Johnson to come back to be Prime Minister.
Oh, God.
And for Brexit to be reversed. And it's this. Boris Johnson goes into the study in his new mansion. He goes to his desk, and where he keeps the WhatsApp, he pulls out the other letter of the original two, and it's the remain
the
letter.
The column, you mean, not the letter, the column. Yeah.
Sorry, the column. He digs out the other column, because if he digs out said column and follows it through, he will be satisfying the will of the people.
Of the people, yes.
And I get, listening to Peter earlier, bless him, I don't want a government, Nick, to do the will of the people. I want the government to do what's best for the people, because we've had the will of the people, and look where it got us.
Exactly.
Nick. It got us.
We had the will of a minority of obsessives, is what we had, and that's what happens when you have a referendum. Most of the people aren't really that bothered and don't care one way or the other. And so we get run by those who shout the loudest.
But the thing is, look, Nick, I sound stupid when I say that Johnson could make a comeback and he could win the leadership of the Tory party and he could win an election. But the scary reality is that neither Labour nor the Conservatives will go anywhere near rejoining the European Union. And there are obstacles, I admit, to rejoining, but neither of the two parties will even talk about it, let alone do it for decades, well, at least a decade to come. But the point I make is that if Johnson actually told the British people, look, I made a massive error when I wrote the column I did, I should have done the other one, but now looking back, and in light of where the country is, I think I am happy to go back on the mistake I made, and I am willing to go back into the European Union. Do you know what, Nick? And we've been speaking for about 6 or 7 years now on this, I would vote for him.
Oh, my God.
I would, because I tell you what, he couldn't do any more damage than he's done.
Yes. Oh, he absolutely could.
Maybe, but all right. I'll take that back. But the point is, Nick, that the damage that is going to be done to the country by following what Starmer is advocating, that there's no going back on Brexit and we're going to make it work.
Yeah, exactly right. It's exactly that phrase. It's just infuriating. We're going to make it work. Like taking a wheel off a car and making it a three-wheel car can somehow be made to work.
Yeah, and look, so I think enough on that.
Right.
Scooters. Or anybody who says, I will reverse Brexit, they will win. But the thing is, Nick, electric scooters.
Yeah.
My background is in the design, and this week there's been an unusual attack of scooters in that they're a fire hazard. But they're actually a vehicle that shouldn't be...
There's the battery. The battery is a fire hazard. Now, when you say scooters, you're not actually talking about scooter, are you? You're talking about those skateboard things with a handle.
Yes. Well, they're electric scooters that they're called. When I was a kid...
Because a scooter, to me, is a small motorbike under 50cc.
Well, no. When I was a kid, Nick, a scooter was something akin to a skateboard, but only with one wheel on the front, one wheel on the back. So a little deck. The front wheel works like the handlebars and wheel on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And that's how you steer.
I get you.
But the thing is, Nick, if you had 100 designers in a room and asked them to design the most dangerous vehicle on the road, they would come up with a scooter.
Yes.
And here's, very quickly, Nick, here's the reason why. If you think about it, the point of your body in contact with the deck is your feet, and which is the furthest thing from your brain when you go downwards. When you go outwards, the furthest thing from your brain is your hands. So you literally, your body is forming an L shape. The scooter forms an L shape, and your body hands have literally no control on said vehicle. And they're absolutely deadly. And in terms of physics, you speak to anybody who knows anything about physics, they should never, ever have been invented, and that they certainly shouldn't be allowed on roads, Nick, because of the amount of control you have on a bicycle.
Right.
Your bum is on a seat in the middle of the thing.
Yes.
And you're stable because you're sitting, for one, and two, the handlebars and so on. You've got levers which are fairly wide, 18 inches, 2 feet wide.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Science expert.
Yeah, go on.
How is it that a bicycle is stable when it's moving, but not when it's stationary?
This has something to do with gravity. And
No, I don't believe it has anything to do with gravity, because the gravity remains the same. How is it that a bike is stable when it's moving, but isn't when it's still?
I can answer that.
But you can't though, Malcolm.
I can. Listen to the answer. The other night there was a clip on a science program, and it was a lady who had a bicycle wheel in her hands, and she was holding the spindle shaft through the wheel, and it kept on spinning flat. But when she spun the wheel, the wheel stayed vertical. Look it up on the interweb. You'll
but that's an example of what I'm talking about. That's not an explanation, Malcolm.
Well, it is. That's the science behind it. It's a gyroscope, and it's the force of gravity.
It's not a gyroscope. It's a wheel that goes around and around, and gravity is irrelevant because it remains the same. Gravity is the constant. So the only thing that changes is the forward motion. Why is it when a bike is moving forwards, it has stability, but it has none when it isn't?
And can I end one final debate?
No, you most definitely can't until you answer the question. So I'll leave you with that, Malcolm. I have now given you homework, and I want it on my desk first thing in the morning, or you'll be up to the headmaster for the lash. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
Chris says, hey, Nick, I can tell you where Bodge can jog. He can jog right on. Yes, Boris, continue jogging. We'll tell you when to stop. This says, I was a civil servant and absolutely no doubt in the fact that you must never use your phone for personal use at all, as in ever. Yeah, all of these MPs are saying, or ministers saying, we can't give up our mobile phones because all of our private personal information is on there. Yeah, your private personal information shouldn't be on there. Why are you using your business phone for personal use? I suspect that one of the major reasons that they don't want to give up their phones is because nothing on there puts them in a good light. You know, Ian Dury got it wrong. It's not sex and drugs and rock and roll is all his brain and body needs. Sex and drugs, absolutely. Money is the other one. I bet it's they don't want to give up their phones for reasons of sex and drugs and money. Anybody doubt that? 0345 6060 973. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Greenford. Hello, Paul.
Hello, yeah. I think, like, with Boris Johnson and then Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, I think now we've got to wait for the general election to get them out. But,
well, if there is one, if we're allowed one, because if there isn't a general election, if they postpone it permanently, we won't be able to protest it because that will be against the law.
Yeah, I mean, it's dodgy, isn't it? I don't think they've done too well at the moment, have they?
No, they've done very well.
Have they? Yeah. Have they? Yeah, I would say they have. Oh yeah,
they haven't done very well by us, but those aren't the rules that they're working by. I don't believe all the evidence suggests that they're not remotely interested in us. They're working for themselves, and I believe that they are doing very well. Very.
Can Keir Starmer get over the Corbyn years?
Can he crawl over Corbyn's reclining form?
And the anti-Semitism row.
Oh, God. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. It's too depressing. I can't. I can't. Not at this stage in the show, Paul, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Caroline says, have I missed the weather report? I had to wear a coat, scarf and gloves this morning in June. What's going on? Yes, Caroline, you have missed the weather report. It looks pretty good for the next couple of weeks. In fact, it's the same every day for the next couple of weeks. Like literally, the exact same weather every day. Whatever you got today is what you're going to get for the next 2 weeks, every single day, which is actually true. There is no change. I'm looking at Leicester Square. It's the exact same weather every day. I'll look at Brighton, the same. Glasgow, I looked at earlier on. They're getting the exact same weather every day as well. It's 21, 22 degrees, sun every day, no rain for 2 weeks solid. This is it. This is summer. Unfortunately, it does get cold at night, so it's not very summery, but, during the day, I would run out and suck up all of that vitamin D as soon as possible. It might not be around that long. Let's have the Wirral. Lewis.
Yes, hello.
Lewis.
Hello, Nick.
Lewis.
Can you hear me all right?
No.
Right, okay then. I've got the answer, right, for Boris, right?
Yes.
All the excuses that he's made, and also as well, he probably won't hand in the work mobile. He might hand in his home mobile that's got all his WhatsApp on.
Yeah.
And more to that, right? If he's not giving up his mobile phone, lots and lots of lives have been lost, and there's an inquiry. All his cabinet at that time should hand in their mobile phones. So if he's not giving his information up, the people that he would have messaged to his cabinet, they would have his messages on there.
I don't know why. I honestly don't know why people are bothering with this, because any incriminating evidence will have been wiped ages ago. I mean, it's not like they staged a raid in the middle of the night and took all this stuff before they could delete what was important to them. They've seen this coming from a mile away. They knew that this was coming. It was flagged ahead of time so that any evidence that they didn't want to see the light of day could have been disappeared forever.
No, I just thought that if they were asking for Boris's phone, and lots of stuff might have been wiped out, but all his cabinet at that time, that would have lots and lots of information.
Yeah.
They were our servants, and they were supposed to be looking after us.
Yes.
And they are accountable, and they should.
Right.
They should bring their mobile phones. That's all I was...
All right. Well, it sounds like you said it. Thanks a lot, Lewis. 0345 6060 973. And finally, Weybridge. Ray.
Good evening, Nick. Yes, I'm not calling about Boris. I don't want to waste time on that. I just want to answer your question about the bicycle, if I may.
Please.
Yes, it's got to do with energy. So you've got potential energy and kinetic energy, but there's a specific stuff that's called gyroscopic energy, which has to do with forward momentum. So when it's moving, it can only move in that direction. However, if it's standing still, wind can blow it over, or it can just fall on its own, and that's the answer.
No, but if it's moving forwards, the thing about a bike is that you can change direction.
No, I know you can change. Yeah, but you have to change direction. It just won't change direction by itself.
Well, it can. If you push a bike, then it will go straight for a certain amount of time, and then it will, start turning.
But you're talking about, okay, are you riding the bike or are you just pushing it along?
Well, both. I mean, if you're riding the bike, then you can change its direction. If you just push it along, then its direction does eventually change.
Well, I'm telling you, it's called the gyroscopic effect.
Don't you threaten me, Ray. You believe that? Thanks a lot. 034. Why am I doing that? I'm going. Now, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen back on Global Player. We put this show and the Saturday night one up on the internet as a podcast. We take the news and the ads out. Takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity and do your bit to protect the environment. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Only on Global Player. The magic phrase is Nick Abbot, the whole show podcast. 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 Show